You know, us bringing KINEXON on board was absolutely key for us. In the last 3 years, I've been a strength and conditioning coach here at Furman. The biggest thing we've wanted to invest in is technology and specifically on-court metrics. Being able to wear KINEXON in the games is huge for us. A game changer for us, because now we know exactly how hard the guys are working in the game. And not only for the starters, but also for the reserves. If they're not playing, how hard do we need to work them the day after the game to make sure they're matching game intensity? So if they're called on for the next game, they're ready. So it's as important for the reserves as it is for the starters. You know, I can't stress it enough to strength coaches, mid-major, high major, whatever level. You've got to be able to track the data for the games to really effectively program. Otherwise, you're just guessing. I'm fortunate my head coach really believes in this data and this system. We have a group text, myself, the athletic trainer, and Coach Richey, and we will text him in the morning of some practice days, say, hey coach, we probably want to hit this load today. Coach, this is day before a game, match day -1. Remember, we're aiming for this. He's very open to that, you know, and we're very open to the results we've had. We know what coach's emphasis points want to be in those practice, but it's absolutely vital to have a head coach that believes in the system, because I'm gonna be the one that's the most interested in it. I'm a strength coach, I'll geek out over the numbers, but I can't be the only one.
I would definitely recommend KINEXON to other basketball programs, just with the idea of having more data to be able to serve your players better. There's so much activity now, I mean, with the game in the last decade really transforming how much more access that we have with our players. I think you're able to get a feel seasonally of what are the adequate loads. I think once you get into the season, then you're really able to look at your weeks and figure out what do you want those day befores and 2 day befores. How do those compare, you know, against game data? Also, like, you know, how it breaks down different data points, and to where you can obviously see the distance, you can see accumulation load, you can see the jumps, you can see, you know, different areas where, hey, one player might be better here, but then another player might be better here. And so, you know, for me, I'm data driven in a lot of ways, and this allows me to see a lot of data that as a coach, you know, you're not necessarily going to see on the film. And with us having, you know, what I believe is one of the best strength programs in the country, this is just something that really gives us more information to serve our players better.
Strength coach's main role is improving performance. So if we're able to see what the players' loads are in the games, accelerations, exertions, change in direction, jumps, mileage, we're able to better program for that in the preseason period to prepare them for the season. If you don't have the data in the game, you're just guessing. You can do time when they're on the court, but if you don't have the exact metrics, it's a guess. So KINEXON gives me all that information. I'm able to look at it with Justin, my athletic trainer. We're able to appropriately tell coach in the preseason period, hey, we probably want to hit these loads. This is what we got on that. And we want to build it up week by week as the preseason goes on, so we know we're hitting game intensities and game mileage going into that first week of the season.
A big part of our responsibility as athletic trainers is actually injury prevention. An athlete's main commodity is availability. So how do you stress an athlete without overtraining? The metrics that KINEXON provides us with the accumulated loads, the sprints, the jumps, that's incredibly valuable into how to manage an athlete, how to develop them, how to manage each practice week, how to manage each game week. It's also very valuable in terms of recovery for those weeks. I really couldn't imagine trying to manage it without it at this point, because it's been so valuable to us. And then on the flip side of that, when you look at like an athlete return to play, and you're trying to establish loads for each one of those players, it's a very valuable metric in terms of, hey, we did 1,000 load today, maybe let's go 1,000 load tomorrow. It tells you what you're doing and how to do it correctly in order to simulate that game stress. So I think from a prevention standpoint, as well as a return to play, it's incredibly valuable for us, and it's been an absolute game changer.
If you're going to go really, really hard, right, well, that load's going to increase quicker, and so you just know that you're probably going to have a cut point a little bit sooner. But the idea is sometimes that coaches go in, should we go hard today? Should we go slower today? I think we were able to kind of avoid some of that, and it was more the question of just, hey, we want to go at the same tempo and intensity. Now we're just going to know what are the shutoff valves in terms of when the accumulation load gets to this point, that now we know our stopping point, and we can build our practice backwards from there.
So we've been able to look at the past couple of years and see the game intensity of players. So a couple of our big players, Jalen Slauson, Mike Bothwell, we're able to look at their game intensity from last season, compared it to the season before, and we're able to see an increase in game intensity there, which is awesome. Great feedback for them, great feedback for Coach Richey. Now the challenge is this year, can we have a even higher game intensity when in all likelihood their minutes are gonna go up as well? They're gonna play the most they ever have. Can we make those the most intense minutes they've ever had?
I think the biggest key area that I've seen improvement in is just our ability to interpret the data better the longer we have it. I think year one, you're just looking at numbers and you're trying to figure them out, but you don't really have a comparative analysis to go by. Year two, I think, is when you really begin to get a little bit more comfortable with it. And I'm really excited about seeing what we can do year three, because now we have 2 years of data to compare it to. So now over time, I think the more you have access to the technology, then the greater feel you're gonna have for what works, what's good, what do you have to avoid. And so I think year two, you're gonna see a big growth point, A, in your understanding of the information, B, what information you really think is going to impact decision-making, and C, the ability to have comparative analysis from seasons before, practices before, at what point in the season did you do this, at what point did you do that, and once you have more data, then obviously I think it's gonna be more efficient for you.
So at the mid-major level, the conference tournament is the climax of the season for us. We win that, we go to the NCAA tournament.
We had a very interesting gap in our end of season going into our conference tournament.
So that week of prep is crucial because we're going to be playing from Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So how do you prepare for 3 games in 3 days?
When we went through that first year, we don't really have reference points to compare it previously. So we're just building the data. We lost in overtime in the first round. And this past year, as we were preparing for Asheville, we were able to go back to look at that data. And what we saw was we did too much in a concentrated period, comparatively speaking, to other preparation points during the season. And it was one of those situations where it looked like we had more time, and we really mismanaged the time, and we were out there too long, and you could see it on the data.
The use of the KINEXON system was huge for us season 2, to look back at what we did the previous year, how we managed that week, and then coming into this past season, how we were going to manage this week.
We were able to really make some decisions this past year in preparation for Asheville.
We changed it up completely based on the data and the communication with Coach Richey.
And I thought it was great. I thought the way our strength coach managed it, the way he and I worked together on that.
And the result was terrific. We made it to the final Monday night, and see the rest is history from there. But being able to use the system on the most important week of the season was absolutely crucial for our development and for our chance of success.
We played really well in the first round. We had a very tough opponent in the semifinal game, and then lost a heartbreaker in the championship, but in overtime. But I felt like, looking back at it, our preparation and being tweaked and modeled based on previous year's data put us in a position to be able to do that.
At the end of the day, we all want to win games. How can we best prepare for that? Using the KINEXON system that week of the conference tournament, I know was a game changer for us last year. So going forward, this is year 3, we've used the system. I'm really excited to be able to look at the game data and compare the intensity of the efforts of our starters, really, from the previous year and even the year before that. So that's an exciting project for us this year. Another exciting one is how best we can prepare them in the preseason period. The preseason right now, we need to get them ready for week 1 of practice. Well, then practice is the thing that conditions them for the games. So how can we periodize and load each week of preseason so that we are peaking come the first week in November where we play our first game?